where ideas take shape, thoughts find depth, and obviously conversation explores beyond our thinking, beyond the obvious. And today I have my special guest. He's a CEO, historic evangelist, and of course, an author too, no other than Mr. Ken Davenport. Welcome, Mr. Ken on Abstract Essay. And can you please introduce more about yourself that I
Sure, Daniel.
missed?
Thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm a CEO of an organization called Mission Edge in San Diego. Longtime entrepreneur, five-time author. Actually, wrote two novels that I wrote earlier in my career, but lately have been focusing on stoicism, leadership, building resiliency, dealing with change and transition, and just trying to help others find their purpose in life.
Yes, and thank you so much for helping others and sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world, Mr. Ken. Thank you. Hmm. And today, let's talk about your three books. The other one is upcoming. So, tell us, the historic transition implies a beginning. What is the core transition that you guide readers through, and why is it essential first step before gaining a stoic edge?
Yeah. Well, thank you. Yeah. The Stoic transition was is really written for military veterans transitioning to the civilian world. Although I've had many civilians read it and get a lot of value out of it as well. I think anyone that is going through a fundamental transformation, transition in their life, whether it's job change, career change, any life change, um, kind of is valuable for is a way of kind of ordering your thoughts, focusing on what you can control, and trying to figure out what is most important to you moving forward now that you're embracing a new opportunity, and making decisions on a new path in life. And so that was my first book, really designed to kind of focus on life transition. And then the Stoic Edge was kind of a continuation of that theme, and really dealing with some of the things that I've dealt with personally in my own transitions, my own um, kind of life experience around managing emotion, overcoming uh, procrastination, dealing with imposter syndrome, leadership challenges, but also anger, shame, and guilt, and other things that tend to often sabotage our life. And Stoicism has a lot of wisdom to give for how to deal with those challenges.
Challenges in the progressive philosophy. How do these three books build upon one another? Is it a linear path of mastery, or do
Yeah.
they address different interconnected facets of Stoic life?
Well, I think they're both actually. I think they do build on each other. They build subsequent in terms of depth. So the Stoic transition kind of sort of addresses how you manage change. The Stoic Edge deals more with how you manage emotion, and the virtue ethos really is about how you get mastery over the core Stoic tenet, which is living a life of virtue. So, and the virtues are very simple but very powerful. It's wisdom, which is essentially understanding what's important in your life, courage, which gives you the ability to act on those things that are important, discipline, which everyone needs in terms of work ethic and discipline around how you show up, and then justice, which is essentially whatever you do in life. What really matters is serving the community, serving the wider world, and making sure it's not just about you. And so they kind of build on each other. The my latest book, The Virtue Ethos, really is more of a kind of a practical guide for how you build a virtue practice in your life, and really how you get connected with the things that are most important to you in your life and what you should be focusing on.
Interesting, Mr. Khan. Interesting indeed. So, what specific void or question does the virtue ethos address that is not fully covered in the first two books?
Yeah. So the virtue ethos is a little bit of a mashup of Stoic philosophy and Jungian psychology, and I've become a big fan of of Carl Jung's philosophy, or theory of the psyche, which essentially really asks you a fundamental question, which is, how do you identify who you really are deep down? We all develop a persona in our lives, a role that we play based on what we think is expected of us, largely driven by our ego with a big E. So kind of how we show up in the world. And oftentimes, what I found in my life is I got to midlife and realized that persona I was playing was no longer really serving me. That it really wasn't who I wanted to be, but it was a role that I started playing early in my career. And what I try to do in the first part of the virtue ethos is to help people uncover who are you authentically, what is deep down the person that the role that you really want to play in your life, and how do you want to uncover maybe some of your hopes, your dreams, your aspirations. And a lot of that is sort of analyzing, who you really are inside, and dealing with what Jung calls your shadow, which is some of the repressed, maybe negative traits that you've kind of repressed, but that need to be brought out in the open so that you can live fully and wholly in the world. And really, that first section really is a foundational piece to say, hey, let's figure out who you really are, as opposed to who you've been the life you've been leading versus the life you really want to live. And then once you do that, to really embrace the virtue inside of you that really can come out, the wisdom that you need to really understand who you want to be and what's important, the courage to take those steps to become that person, and to exercise those virtues on a daily, weekly basis. And then the discipline and justice, which also allow you to be effective in your life, but also to think about what's good for the community as a whole. And then the last part of the book is really about practice. So how do you embrace that? How do you make it a daily part of your life? How do you reinforce those things so that you can live a full and meaningful life, and the life that you are really meant to live in a lot of ways? And that's kind of the thesis behind it. It may not fit everybody, but it definitely fit me, and I think it will resonate with folks who are trying to figure out how to get the most out of themselves in the time they have on this earth.
Mr. Khan, why did you choose to frame these ideas with modern, action oriented titles like ads and ethos instead of more traditional philosophical terms?
Well, it's a good question. And I never really was big on philosophy, when I was in school, and I always thought, philosophy was kind of a lot of highfalutin words and a lot of very beautiful writing that really didn't never amounted to much. And when I found Stoicism, what attracted to me to it was that it's really a very practical philosophy. It's not to be they're not words to be listened to, they're actually words to be acted on. And one of the things that's so interesting about the great Stoic philosophers, whether it's Marcus Aurelius or Seneca or Epictetus, is that they really focused on action and living a life actively, that reflects who you are as a human being, and reflects your desire to be a good person and to do good in the world. And so the words that I use are really action words in the sense that the stoicism can give you an edge in your life and how you live your life, how you build resiliency, how you overcome resistance, and the ethos piece, which I think is very interesting. Ethos is really a set of habits and discipline that you bring into your life that you live by. And so the way that I talk about stoicism is very practical. It's very much a toolkit that you use, something that you reaffirm every day. The concepts that you bring into your life that you use as a tool with which to move your life forward and to live the life that you want. So it's really not about reading, Plato or Aristotle and kind of having a lot of thought time around what it all means. This is really about doing good in the world.
Doing good indeed. And Mr. Ken, on the Stoic transition, what is the most common pre-Stoic mindset or habit that people must first recognize and then consciously decide to transition away from?
Yeah, gosh, great question. What I found in my experience, particularly with transitioning veterans, is that many times you tend to be reactive instead of proactive. And of course, we're all very reactive now because we have so much information coming at us, whether it's via the phone or whether it's the internet or social media. And we're constantly bombarded by information and by images that we see that look like a life that you really want to live, but probably aren't real. And so, one of the main tenets for the Stoic transition is figuring out what is in your control and what is not. And I think the primary sort of tool is to look at what's in front of you and figure out what can you control, what can you have an impact on, what are the things to focus on today and tomorrow that you can actually do, as opposed to looking at some long-term goal and wistfully thinking about how my life will be great if I could just get there, when that there really probably doesn't exist and will only distract you from doing the work you need to do today to move forward. And so a lot of it comes down to living in the present, understanding what you can do today and tomorrow, and not getting too hooked on these long term visions of what success looks like, and really embrace the process as opposed to the end point.
The process of endpoint. Interesting and empowering answer. Mr. Khan, if the transition is the journey, what is the first, most immediate practice you give readers to start walking the Stoic path today?
Well, I think that we all kind of live, as I just said, kind of in a very forward looking mode. We're constantly thinking about the future, whether it's retirement or the next job or selling your company or whatever that next goal is. And I think that a lot of times we lose the present. We use the presence for the future. And what we do is we kind of look past where we are today. The Stoics have this concept called amor fati, which is translated as loving your fate. And what they mean by fate is really kind of where you find yourself right now. It's not about where you might be a week or 2 weeks or a month or 10 years from now, although obviously you need to plan for the future. But the idea of amor fati is that you love your current place in the world, your current existence, and you don't forsake it for something that hasn't happened yet. And so I think the primary, focus for Stoicism is to slow things down, to embrace where you are today, to focus on what you can control today and tomorrow, and really kind of ground yourself in the reality of the life that you have, and to try to really enjoy the life that you're currently living, even though it may not be great. And there are parts of life that are hard. We're in the holiday season right now, a lot of people without family, and I think it's very easy to kind of get into a mode where you look at the glass half empty instead of half full. That's a natural human condition to do. But I think the fight is really to look at the good things that you do have in your life, to think about the struggle that you're in and how that's going to make you stronger, how you're, can sort of work toward making, next year a better year by focusing on who you are today and building a practice, building some skills. And so it's really about kind of embracing, again, the fundamental concept of Stoicism is, what can you control and what can't you control? And what you can control is yourself, how you view things, what you do, how you perceive things, how you react to things, how you react to people in your life. And it's really about focusing on that and um, not blaming others for the situation that you're in, but taking responsibility and trying to make it better by acting and reacting in a more productive way.
Indeed, in productive way. How does the Stoic transition specifically help someone reframe the relationship with negative emotions like anxiety, anger, or grief?
You were breaking up there. Can you repeat that again?
Yes, definitely. So, what are your short-term and long-term goals? Oh, I'm breaking up. Wait. Hello, test Mike. Hello.
Yeah,
I'm breaking up again. Sorry, I apologize for the glitch, Mr. Ken.
that's okay.
As
I can
as
hear
an
you okay.
author, as an author, Mr. Ken. Yes, as an author, Mr. Ken, what are your short-term and long-term goals?
Yeah, good question. I wasn't intending necessarily to write 3 books on Stoicism, but I find that the more they resonate with people, the more that I kind of want to share. And what I hope to do is get this new book out wide, and hopefully it'll have an impact on others. And I don't know what I'll do next. In terms of writing, I may go back to writing a novel. I'm not really sure, but I've really enjoyed the process of writing about Stoicism. Has been very cathartic and very useful for me, just as a person to write this stuff. But I also find that my reaction to things and the life that I've led is very similar to what other people face. And so, if my experiences can be useful to others, then that's a beautiful thing.
A beautiful thing, and good luck to your goals, and looking forward for more success, Mr. Ken. And what will be your piece of advice for those people out there want to be like you?
Well, I think that if you really are interested in looking at Stoicism, and I really encourage you to, obviously, any of these books, The Stoic Edge is a great book for you to read. There are a couple of other books I would recommend. Marcus Aurelius's journal called Meditations is fantastic, beautifully written, really kind of notes that he wrote to himself that was never meant to be published, but has somehow survived 2,000 years. And Ryan Holiday, who's probably the most prolific writer on Stoicism now, has got a bunch of good books out. So if you're interested in Stoicism, I would really encourage you to dig into it, and allow it to provide some structure to some of the things that you are grappling with in your life.
Yes, and thank you for that advice, Mr. Ken. And can you please recommend a book or books that influence your journey?
Besides meditations, I've been a big fan of the writing of James Hollis. He's a Jungian psychologist and author. He wrote a book called A Life of Meaning, which I love and I think is very worthwhile. I think anybody in particular in the audience who is in midlife and is looking at kind of the second half of their life in terms of what to do and to remain relevant, to remain productive, to feel like you're still doing something of importance even in this crazy world of AI. You know, James Hollis's work, very, very valuable, and I think very important. Um, and beyond that, yeah, as I said, meditations, some of the work of Ryan Holiday. I'm a big fan of Stephen Pressfield, who wrote a book called The War on Art and The Warrior Ethos, and many other books. Really, really good around getting over resistance and dealing with procrastination. And on that front, I would also recommend for anybody who's having trouble just kind of getting, structure and order and started in anything in their life. Atomic Habits by James Clear, fantastic book to kind of really structure the things in front of you and make it more manageable, so you can actually start to build habits that get you moving in the right direction.
Moving in the right direction for sure. And Mr. Ken, thank you for that recommended books. What is the most powerful or unexpected transformation you've heard from a reader who has engaged with all three books?
Mm. Well, I've actually had readers definitely write me who've read both the Stoic Transition and the Stoic Edge, and the feedback that I've gotten is kind of why you do this work, I guess. Just in terms of one person said that my book helped kind of, and I don't mean to be glib about it, but just literally save their life in terms of them struggling with depression and kind of the sheer kind of overwhelming nature of the world right now. And that was a military veteran who was struggling in transition. Um, and just a lot of folks who've written me saying that they'd heard of stoicism but didn't really understand it, and that I was able to make it really accessible for them, and enable them to put it into practice in their life, and has made their lives better. So to me, that's kind of why I do this work.
And thank you for sharing to the world, Mr. Ken. If you could distill the entire message of the trilogy into one core principle for living, what would it be?
Well, I think the most fundamental concept here is that you can't control what happens to you in life, but you can control your reaction to it. And that fundamentally is the core basis of Stoicism. How you react to what happens in life is the goal of living with virtue and living with wisdom, living with courage and discipline and justice, and to really, approach your life in a way that, promotes goodness, that gets you moving in the direction where you're doing good in the world, that you're feeling good about yourself, and that you're not allowing the world to you're not allowing the tail to wag the dog, but you're the dog wagging the tail, if you will. So you're in control, and you're able to decide what you do with your time and energy and talent and treasure, and hopefully for the betterment of yourself, your family, your friends, and the world around you.
The betterment for good. And Mr. Ken, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people. My other podcast, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, and my book 101 review in fifth season too. Comedy 101 is third season, and my food 101 in fifth season as well. Geography 101, love letters, movie 101 review, music 101 on fourth season, science 101, sex 101 is second season, and my baby podcast, law 101, mental health 101, and Bible Verses 101. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcasts. So, Mr. Ken, having established this three part of framework, Where does the stoic journey go from here? What remains to be explored after mastering the transition, the ads, and the ethos?
Well, that's a very good question. For me, it's about continuing to practice these three books in my daily life. I actually, read my own writing regularly to remind myself about what I've written and what I'm trying to do in my own life. And so for now, I think I'll. These are probably the three books I'll write on this topic. I'll hope to do some speaking and teaching on it, and I'm not sure where it goes from here. Of course, didn't never expected to write the virtue ethos in the first place, so I'm sure that something will strike me based on my conversations with readers and folks that I come in contact with, and maybe there's yet another book out there for me to write on Stoicism. I'm not sure yet.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your three books to the world, Mr. Ken. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your books, your advocacy, or whatever projects that you're doing right now?
Sure. Yeah. If you're interested in any of these books, they're on Amazon. Just Google my name. Um, I have a website that is on the screen right now at kendavenport.net. And my new book will be coming out in the next month. And please buy it. Contact me if you want to talk about it, if you have questions, and tell a friend, because this is definitely a philosophy that can help people.
Yes, people, let's support Mr. Ken Davenport because if you support him, for sure, more and more empowering books like this to come. So, Mr. Ken, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Daniel.
More to come, people. See you soon.